Hello there and welcome to episode 24 of Colonization Project. Right now we are returning to Sunset Star, which has arrived at Eve. But first we are collecting all the science we can get from space high above Eve, and then we will research that and, research it into more science. We do have to collect 2 copies of every experiment because some experiments we're going to process in the lab, and then some experiments we're going to return home. Actually, we're going to do that with every experiment, except maybe telemetry reports. Those can be just put into the lab and just transmitted back. Anyways, that is what we're doing right now, and yeah, we're heading down to Eve. We are not going to break into a circular Eve orbit because that will take just more Delta V. And we also want to go to Gilly. Gilly is where we will be landing. I'm pretty sure that lander that we have isn't enough to land and return from Eve. Probably enough to land, definitely not enough to return. We don't want to be stranding Kerbals anywhere. We will not be sending Kerbals to the surface of Eve and back for a very long time. We probably won't do that until we have maybe like advanced fission rockets, maybe fusion rockets. I don't know. Anyways, it's going to be a very long time before we actually send Kerbals to the surface of Eve and back. Both because we don't. I mean, we could do it now. Many people have done stock Eve return missions, but we want to keep the mass down on this because, yeah, we don't want to be carrying around like a 500-ton lander. that wouldn't be good for a Delta V budget. Anyways, after plotting out our different corrections that we need to do, we can time warp down to our periapsis, in which we will perform our capture burn and gain some pretty decent shots of the spacecraft passing by Eve, because Eve it's got to be one of my favorite planets in Kerbal Space Program. It's okay in stock KSP, but when you add a couple visual mods, it just makes it look a whole lot better. Especially with like a dense cloud layer and the fact that it's purple. Purple is a pretty neat color, I guess. But yeah, it's a really good looking planet, and you can also build giant planes on it, so that's also a pretty neat sort of feature of the planet. Anyways, we have now arrived at Eve. These Kerbals are actually the first Kerbals to see another planet with their own eyes, so that's kind of an accomplishment in of itself. But they have no time for that. They have to perform the capture burn, or else they would just go flying past the planet. That's not very good. But we can do that and collect more science. At least that's what I thought we were going to do. However, we didn't go low enough in order for it to be considered space low above Eve. So we do get a Gilly encounter. However, we won't be able to use that Gilly encounter because we will have to perform another correction later on in order to dip us down into space low above Eve, so we can get more science and further our space program's development and advanced rocketry. Anyways, now we are launching a Titan booster, and it is carrying our Duna mission. Yes, we are doing a lot of interplanetary missions in this episode. This is going to be carrying Jebediah, Bill, Bob, Valentina, of course. I'm not sure whose name that is, but I'm sure you already found out who that was. But we're carrying the original 4 and an extra scientist along, and they're going to be heading out to Duna. And this mission is a lot less grand and way less planned than than Sunset Star. This is Opportunity, and it is going to Duna, like I said. I didn't have a lot of time to build this. I didn't have a lot of time to plan out this mission because the transfer window was coming a lot faster than I thought it was. So as you can see, we don't need to perform any advanced orbital construction. It's just a single spacecraft and a lander. And that's about it. It's going to be called. I'm naming all of the spacecraft in this Duna mission after probes that went to Mars. So the spacecraft, the main spacecraft, is called Opportunity because, you know, it's Opportunity. Probably most people's favorite little Mars rover. The lander is going to be called Pathfinder, which was the first rover on Mars. Was it? I'm not sure about that. It could have been called something else. But anyways, Pathfinder was... No, Sojourner was the first rover on Mars. Pathfinder was the name of the lander that carried the first rover to Mars. The rover is called Pathfinder. No, not the rover. The lander is called Pathfinder, and the rover is called Curiosity. You can probably guess where that comes from. Definitely not the Curiosity rover. But yeah, I'm probably just going to name maybe future Duna missions after that, unless I can come up with a more creative name suggestion. Suggestion. So that's what we're doing right now. We are sending the crew up in the main spacecraft. Probably not the safest thing because it doesn't have an abort system, but we're sending them up. We are sending them up. We are sending them up. We are sending them up in the main spacecraft because we don't have an SSTO capable of carrying 6 crew into orbit. I mean, I do have I sort of have an SSTO that can do that. It's called Ranger. I haven't used it yet. And for the past, when I tried it out before, it didn't work, but I built it anyway. And we're going to upgrade it once we get the Rapier engine, and then we might use it. But right now it's kind of just sitting in the spaceplane hangar, kind of useless. We might eventually use it. It's going to be kind of useless if we don't. But anyways, we are once again recovering all the stages. The third stage isn't designed to be fully recovered, but I just decided let's go for it. So I did. But we can also unlock a few new tech nodes. We only have a few more left in the tier that we're on. After that, we can, move on to the next tier, which gives us lots of new technology, like better nuclear propulsion, better ion engines, better colonization techniques, fusion reactors, maybe? No, it doesn't give us fusion reactors. It gives us like more advanced fission reactors. There's a big difference between fission and fusion. Fission is like using I don't know the difference, but fusion is like fusing 2 elements together. Fission is just breaking apart one. Anyways, now you can see we're launching the Pathfinder lander. You can see it is using that pretty neat little what is it called? Dragon command pod. It's also using 2 arrow spikes because we want efficiency in space and in vacuum. Space and vacuum, that's the same thing. In space and on the surface of Duna, so arrow spikes are a good choice, and also arrow spikes are pretty cool. You can also see it's a very heavy lander. Could we land on Duna using a more efficient lander? Yes, we probably could. Did I want to? No. Because, it's kind of cool. We also don't have any parachutes, which was a bit of an oversight. It would be way more efficient if we did use parachutes, but I designed this mission in quite a hurry, and it has a few glaring weaknesses, like it doesn't have any reaction wheels. That's pretty good, isn't it? It's going to be a pain to maneuver the spacecraft. It doesn't have any reaction control systems either. So yeah, I made a few mistakes in designing this craft. We also don't have any monopropellant storage, liquid fuel and oxidizer storage, or... Yeah, I forgot a lot of things on this mission. The Sarnis booster that we launched on actually can't carry this lander into orbit, so we do actually have to use a bit of... we have to use like half of the reserve fuel that we're supposed to use for a landing in order to actually get the lander into orbit. Hopefully that won't cause any problems later. yeah, hopefully. This thing is actually supposed to land on Ike too, but we're going to land on Duna first, and then we're going to land on Ike, just to be... We're going to land on Ike if we have enough fuel. Hopefully we will. I mean, we probably could land on Ike with the spacecraft itself. I mean, might have enough thrust. I think it has TWR of like 1 in the vacuum. Although it could very well be wrong because it has that giant lander. Anyways, you just saw we were performing a quick correction with the whatchamacallit, the Sunset Star. The Sunset Star. I mean, I guess that's correct, but Sunset Star is what we did. We also performed a capture run with EveSat 1, and it's going to arrive at Gilly first, and we're going to send it off to Eve. Just so, you know, we can start scanning the different bodies. Anyways, we are now launching the material kit storage. Also, the space station doesn't have enough life support. Actually, no, it has enough life support. It doesn't have enough electric charge to supply the entire... all the functions that it's supposed to. So, what we need to add to it is we need to add 2 solar panels to it, and we also need to carry up some material kits in order to inflate the 2 gravity rings. So that's what this mission is supposed to do. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And all it is it's just material kit storage, some RCS thrusters, and some solar panels. That's pretty simple. Nothing too complex, because it doesn't really need to be. It just needs to carry enough material kits to inflate the gravity rings, and also carry some solar panels. However, I completely forgot that we were going to be going away from the sun, so yeah, we'll see where the electric charge situation ends up eventually. Once again, launching this on a Sarnis booster. I'm not sure if we launched one in this episode. Let me see. We do not, so I can talk about it right now. The naming of the Leviathan and Orca boosters. If you remember in the last episode, I talked about how I wanted to rename it to Leviathan, and thanks to yet another suggestion, I've decided to name the Orca the Leviathan, the one that rises up, the one that's definitely not a Sea Dragon clone. That's going to be renamed to the Leviathan because of reasons which I discussed in the last episode, and someone suggested, I can't speak today. Someone suggested that suggested the name Colossus, and I was like, that's a really good name. I haven't used that before. And so the current Leviathan booster, which is the one with the vector engines on the bottom, that one will be renamed to Colossus. So thank you for that. So every other rocket I think is going to remain the same. We have the Pallades, the 1.25 meter rocket, the Cyclops, the Constellation Block 1 and 2, which is the the Titan, and the Atlas V, which are real life, not the ones in Kerbal Space Program that I'm using. Then we have the Sarnis, which is the Falcon 9. Then we have Colossus, which is the former Leviathan, one with the 6 vector engines on the bottom. 6, I think it might actually be 7 vector engines on the bottom. Then we have that. Then we have the Titan, which we just launched Opportunity on. Then we have the Leviathan, which is definitely not a Sea Dragon clone. So I think that's the current naming. That's the current naming of all the rockets. And we might make a even bigger rocket once we get the 7.5 meter rocket parts, although we might not, because I'm not sure what we need a 7.5 meter rocket for. If we need a bigger rocket, then we can just slap more boosters onto the Leviathan onto the Leviathan, because more boosters solves every problem imaginable. You need more fuel? Simple, just add more boosters. More payload capacity, just add more boosters. You want to irradiate your home planet with nuclear engines, just add more nuclear engines. Thankfully, I've been very conservative about irradiating Kerbin in the series. We actually haven't had any nuclear engines blow up either in the atmosphere or anywhere else. Although that will change very shortly. Not on Kerbin, of course, but on another planet. We don't really care about radiation on other planets unless we find life there, in which we will very well radiate it. It's just so we don't have any other life to worry about. I mean, we're researching it, and then we might send nuclear engines into it. I mean, once we get to the point where we're colonizing other planets, we probably won't just send nuclear engines into the atmosphere. That's terribly inefficient. What we really need to do is we need to take one of the Kerbstein engines and just point it at the planet, because the nuclear engines, what are they called? The radiation from a Kerbstein fusion engine, which is an obvious reference to the Expanse's Epstein fusion engine. Yeah, those produce a lot of neutron radiation. I finally remembered it. Yay. And if we point at a planet, chances are every single living thing on that planet is going to die very quickly. So if we want to irradiate every single piece of life on a planet, we just point a fusion engine at it. That's very safe. I probably shouldn't be talking about how to kill an entire planet via neutron radiation. Anyways, we have sent Opportunity off to Duna. It's going to arrive in like 400 days. Speaking on the topic of neutron radiation, probably should stop talking about this right now. But nuclear engines, the solid core fusion... we're not using fusion engines. Fission engines that we're using right now, aka the Nervas, we're safe to point those anywhere. As long as we're not pointing them directly into a Kerbal's face, they'll be fine. Because nuclear engines don't spew out to nuclear waste, or they don't produce high energy neutron radiation. So we're fine to point those in any which way, especially at our home planet's atmosphere. Nuclear engines only produce heat and obviously just superheated hydrogen. That's all they produce. Liquid core engines, nuclear light bulbs, gas core fission engines, and basically any type of fusion engine. Those are the things you have to worry about. Because those either produce deadly amounts of neutron radiation, like fusion engines, or they literally spew bits of the reactor out the back. Both of which are not good for your home planet's atmosphere, so yeah, we don't want to be using those anywhere around Kerbin. Although I did make a very bad mistake of using a liquid core engine near the atmosphere of Kerbin. Hopefully that won't cause any problems. Anyways, right now we are launching the Curiosity Duna Rover, and this is quite simple. It's just a rover. It's going to rover around on the surface using a nuclear engine. Thankfully, not a liquid core engine. We don't even have liquid core engines unlocked. But we will eventually, and you will see that I do eventually point a liquid core engine into the atmosphere of Kerbin. Thankfully, Interstellar Extended has like an automatic shut-off feature in which you can't point a deadly engine at your homeworld. Thankfully, that's a feature. Otherwise, we will be probably killing every single Kerbal on the planet. Although, we haven't seen any cities on Kerbin. I'm wondering where they all live. They probably live in like some underground bunker underneath the Kerbal Space Center. They probably live in like some underground bunker because they know that we're probably going to make a mistake and blow off Kerbin's atmosphere. They probably know that, and they're just hiding underground. Maybe that's where all the Kerbals live. Because, as you can see, there are no city lights. There are no lights anywhere on Kerbin. So, where do they all live? I mean, of course, we do have a couple Kerbals living at the Kerbal Space Center. So I was just checking the time left in this episode. Thankfully, I have like 5 more minutes. Yeah, we do have like a select few Kerbals living at the Kerbal Space Center. Yeah, but you know, those are like pressurized buildings that have vast amounts of shielding on them in case we do eventually use fusion engines for liftoff of Kerbin, which you can do. I believe you can use like a select few fusion engines in use of atmosphere. Especially those where you're just passing the propellant through a fusion reactor. That's pretty simple. But yeah, enough talk about fusion engines. Let's get on to the actual video at hand. So let me recap what just happened when I was talking over the footage. So what happened was that we launched the Curiosity rover. The Stardust booster that has been serving us for almost the entire series did unfortunately explode. What else did we do? We collected science from space low above Eve. Low above? Yeah, that's correct. We collected science from there with Sunset Star, and we are now moving on to the Gilly. No, this is EveSat 1, which is performing its capture burnout. Illy? No, this is Gilly. And it will start scanning the surface of Gilly for resources, biomes, visual maps, all that. So that's what we're doing with this, and now that that's in a nice circular, almost polar orbit, we can move on to the next whatever we're doing. And what we're doing now is Sunset Star is performing a quick... No, this is Opportunity. Opportunity is performing a quick mid-course correction to get it on its merry way to Duna, and it will once again arrive in about 400 days, which is a bit longer than Sunset Star took, but... what else we gotta be doing right now? We don't really have to be doing really anything right now. Except maybe colonizing Minimus. We're not doing much with anything other than interplanetary stuff in this episode. The Sunset Star has also arrived at it's not arrived at anything. It's actually it's arrived at its mid-course correction, and that correction will get us on our way to Gilly, and we will I think we're going to end this episode off with Sunset Star around Gilly. So it will be producing a whole lot of science, and that's good. It gives us more science, which gives us more technology, which gives us more science to get more sciencey things. You can once again collect science. I started to burn a bit too late, so eventually, as you may see, we can't slow down fast enough, and we go screaming past Gilly at like 500 meters per second. Not too bad, but with the 2.5 Gs of gravity that those Nervas produce, it's not a lot. Actually, it is a lot in terms of burn time for Sunset Star, because yeah, Nervas don't produce very much thrust, do they? So we end up overshooting our burn a bit. Thankfully, however, we don't actually have a lot of extra Delta V on this. I don't actually think we're going to have enough to make it home. Thankfully, however, the life support on this is a bit extra. So I think we will have enough life support in order to send a resupply mission out to refuel Sunset Star. We will do that in the next Eve transfer window. Eventually, hopefully they have enough life support to do that. But we can always send more life support in the resupply mission if and when that happens. I mean, they might go homesick, but they also have those nice little gravity rings and a cupola module. So I think they'll be happy enough seeing those beautiful views of Eve from Gilly. It'll also give us a chance to start mining operations on Gilly, which will be quite exciting. Anyways, we're just getting to a nice circular orbit right now with Sunset Star. And after we both raise our orbit up and then raise our orbit down again, I believe that will very soon be the end of this episode, but not right now. I have like 5 more seconds to talk about fusion. I'm just kidding. Anyways, that'll be the end of this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.